Don't move. The voice hit her spine like a blade. Lily's fingers froze on the motorcycle helmet, the 17th note still pinched between her trembling fingertips. She turned around. 6'3", scars carved across his face like a roadmap of violence. Tattoos crawling up both arms. Eyes cold enough to stop her heart. Every instinct screamed, "Run." But she didn't. She'd written 223 notes in 14 months. 222 had been thrown away like garbage. Her father was dead. Her mother had abandoned her. 3 friends had frozen to death on streets nobody cared about. If this man killed her tonight, at least someone would finally have to look. "Read it," she whispered. "Please, just read it." What he did next mobilized 180 Hells Angels across 4 states and exposed a murderer hiding behind a shelter for homeless children. Before we dive into how this girl ended up in that parking lot, go ahead and subscribe. This channel tells real stories about real people who did extraordinary things when everyone else looked away. We believe these stories matter. Drop a comment and tell us what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's go back to where this really started. The parking lot of Big Sky Truck Stop emptied out at 9 o'clock sharp every Saturday night. Lily Harper knew this because she'd been watching for 3 weeks straight, counting the minutes, memorizing the patterns, waiting for exactly the right moment. Tonight was that moment. 18 motorcycles sat in a row near the back entrance. All Harleys, all chrome and black leather, all belonging to men who looked like they could break her in half without trying. Lily's fingers trembled as she pulled the first note from her hoodie pocket. 23 pieces of notebook paper, 23 identical messages, 23 last chances. She'd written them that afternoon in the alley behind the public library, using a pen she'd found in a trash can and papers she'd stolen from the recycling bin. Her handwriting was shaky, hard to write neatly when you haven't eaten in 3 days, but the words were clear. She approached the first motorcycle and tucked a note into the helmet strap. 1 down, 22 to go. Her heart pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. Every few seconds she glanced toward the truck stop bar where the bikers were drinking, laughing, having the kind of Saturday night that felt like a foreign language to her now. Second motorcycle, note tucked under the seat edge. Third motorcycle, note slipped into the saddlebag pocket. She was moving faster now, her confidence building with each successful drop. Maybe this would work. Maybe someone would actually read one of these. Maybe. "Hey!" Lily's blood turned to ice. "What the hell are you doing to my bike?" She spun around. The man standing 3 feet behind her was massive, not just tall, wide, shoulders like a refrigerator, arms covered in ink from wrist to where his black t-shirt sleeves ended. A leather vest with patches she couldn't read in the dim light. But it was his face that made her breath catch. A scar ran from his left eyebrow down to his cheekbone, white against tan skin. His jaw was set hard. His eyes, pale blue, almost gray, locked onto her with an intensity that made her want to disappear. "I asked you a question." His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. Lily's mouth opened. Nothing came out. "You got 3 seconds to explain why you're touching my property before I call the cops." The cops. Something in Lily snapped. "Go ahead," she heard herself say. "Call them. See how much they care about a homeless kid. I'll save you the suspense. They don't." The man's eyes narrowed. He hadn't expected that. "What did you say?" "I said call them." Lily's voice cracked, but she didn't look away. "I've called them 6 times in the past year. You know what they did? Nothing. You know what social services did? Nothing. You know what the shelter did when I begged them for a bed while kids were dying on the streets? Nothing." She was shaking now, not from fear, from 14 months of rage that had nowhere to go. "So go ahead, mister. Call the cops. Add yourself to the list of people who didn't give a damn." Silence. The man didn't move, didn't reach for his phone, just stood there, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite figure out. "What's in the notes?" he asked finally. Lily blinked. "What?" "The notes. I watched you put them on 6 bikes before I came over. What do they say?" She hesitated. Then slowly, with hands that wouldn't stop trembling, she pulled a note from her pocket and held it out. He took it, unfolded it, read it. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in those pale eyes. Something Lily couldn't name. "My name is Lily Harper," he read aloud, his voice quieter now. "I'm 17 years old. Kids are dying on the streets while someone steals the money meant to save us. I have proof. If you're reading this, you're my last hope. Please don't throw this away. Please." He looked up at her. "You wrote this?" She nodded. "How many of these have you left around town?" 23 tonight, maybe 200 total over the past 3 months. 200. He repeated the number like it physically hurt him. "And nobody's responded?" "One guy told me to get a job. One woman called me a liar. Most people just threw them away without reading." Lily's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "I watched them do it. I'd hide and watch. They'd look at the note for maybe 2 seconds, then crumple it up like it was nothing." The man was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something Lily didn't expect. He sat down on the curb, just lowered himself down like they had all the time in the world, and patted the concrete next to him. "Sit down, kid." Lily didn't move. "Why?" "Because you look like you're about to fall over, and I want to hear the rest of this story." "You don't even know me." "No," he agreed, "but I know what desperation looks like. And I know what it means when someone's tried 200 times to be heard and nobody listened." He paused. "My name's Marcus. People call me Stone. Now sit down and tell me who's stealing money from homeless kids." Lily's legs gave out more than she sat down. The concrete was cold through her thin jeans, but she barely noticed. When was the last time someone had actually asked her to explain? "There's a shelter," she started, her voice rusty from days of not speaking to anyone. "Mercy House Youth Shelter on 4th Street. It's supposed to help kids like me. Homeless kids, runaways, kids aging out of foster care with nowhere to go." "I know the place," Stone said. "Big building, blue sign. The director is a woman named Patricia Lawson. She drives a Mercedes, wears designer clothes, lives in a house by the lake that costs more than most people make in 5 years." Stone's eyebrows rose slightly. "On a shelter director's salary?" "Her salary is $62,000 a year. I looked it up. Public record." Lily pulled her knees to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. "But that's not the worst part. The worst part is how she affords all of it." "Tell me." "The shelter gets government funding based on how many beds are filled each night. Federal money, state money, private donations. All of it depends on occupancy numbers. Lawson reports 47 beds filled every single night. Full capacity. That's what the paperwork says." "But," Lily looked at him directly, "I've been to that shelter 9 times in the past year, begging for a spot. Every single time they told me there were no beds available. Every single time I walked past the windows and counted the actual kids inside. You know what the most I ever saw was?" Stone waited. 12. 12 kids in a 47-bed shelter that claims to be full every night. And you know what happened to the kids who got turned away?" Her voice broke. "Jamie Reeves died from an overdose 2 months ago. He was 16. He'd been turned away from Mercy House 3 times the week before he died. Said there were no beds." Stone's jaw tightened. "Marcus Williams Jr., everyone called him Jr., froze to death in January. 13 years old. 13. He tried to get into the shelter the night before. Turned away. No beds." Jesus Christ. "Rosie Patterson was assaulted in an alley in March. She's in a group home now, but she doesn't talk anymore. Doesn't look at anyone. Doesn't do anything but stare at walls." Lily's eyes were burning, but she refused to cry. She'd cried enough. She'd been on the shelter waiting list for 2 weeks when it happened. Waiting list. For a shelter that was half empty. Stone was very still. The kind of still that Lily recognized from her father. The stillness of a man trying very hard to control his anger. "How do you know all this?" he asked quietly. "How do you know about the funding, the occupancy numbers, the discrepancy?" "Because I'm not stupid." The words came out sharper than she intended. "Everyone treats homeless kids like we're invisible, like we don't notice things. But I notice, I watch, I listen, and I found someone who helped me." "Who?" "A volunteer at the shelter. Her name's Dorothy. She's 73 years old, been volunteering there for 8 years. She started noticing the same things I did. Beds that were supposed to be full but weren't. Money that was supposed to go to food and supplies but never showed up in the pantry. She started keeping her own records." Lily reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a folded photograph, worn at the edges, creased from being carried everywhere. "This is Patricia Lawson's house. I took this picture 2 months ago. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, lakefront property. Zillow estimate, $850,000. She pulled out another photo. "This is her car, Mercedes S-Class. I looked up the model. That one costs about $90,000. Another photo. "This is her at a restaurant downtown last month with her husband. The receipt she left on the table, I grabbed it from the trash after they left, was $412 for one dinner." Stone looked at the photos, then at Lily. "You've been building a case." "I've been trying," Lily's voice cracked again, "but nobody believes me. I went to the police in April. You know what the officer said? He said I was probably just a troubled kid making up stories because I was mad I didn't get a bed at the shelter. He didn't even write anything down." "Did you show him the evidence?" "I tried. He wouldn't look at it. Said he couldn't take materials from a minor without a parent or guardian present." Lily laughed bitterly. "Parent or guardian? Like I have either of those anymore." Stone was quiet for a moment. "What happened to your parents?" The question hit Lily like a physical blow. She closed her eyes. "My dad died 14 months ago. Construction accident. Scaffolding collapsed at a job site. He was dead before the ambulance got there." "I'm sorry." "He was a good man, a Marine. Served 2 tours overseas, came back, worked construction to support us. He used to say that a man's job was to protect his family, no matter what." Lily's voice wobbled. "He would have believed me about the shelter. He would have done something about it." "And your mom?" Silence. "My mom," Lily said slowly, "remarried 3 months after my dad's funeral." Stone's eyebrows drew together. "His name is Derek Vance. He owns a construction company. The same construction company my dad was working for when he died." The implication hung in the air. "Wait," Stone said. "Your mother married the man who owned the company where your father was killed?" "The company paid a settlement after Dad died. Life insurance, too. All of it went to my mom. $500,000 total." Lily's hands were shaking again. "Derek Vance showed up at my dad's funeral. I thought he was there to pay respects. 2 weeks later, he was having dinner at our house. A month later, he moved in. 3 months later, they were married." "And then?" Lily opened her eyes, looked directly at Stone. "And then Derek decided he didn't want his new wife's kid from her dead husband hanging around reminding everyone of the past." Stone's face darkened. "What did he do?" "He convinced my mom that I was a problem, that I was acting out, that my grief was toxic and I needed tough love." Lily's voice went flat, like she was reciting facts from a textbook. "One day I came home from school, and my clothes were in garbage bags on the front porch. The locks had been changed. My mom wouldn't even come to the window." "Your mother kicked you out?" "My mother chose her new husband over her daughter." Lily said it simply, without drama, which somehow made it worse. "I was 16 years old. I had $40 in my pocket and a backpack with some clothes. I haven't been inside a house since." Stone didn't say anything, but Lily saw his hands, clenched into fists so tight his knuckles had gone white. "I tried to go back," she continued, Twice. The first time Derek answered the door and told me if I came back again, he'd call the police and have me arrested for trespassing. The second time, I saw my mom through the kitchen window. She saw me too. She closed the blinds. Have you talked to her since? She called me once, about 6 months ago. I was sleeping behind the library, and my phone still had a little charge left. I'd plugged it in at the public outlet by the park. What did she say? Lily was quiet for a long moment. She said she was sorry things had turned out this way. She said she hoped I was doing okay. She said she'd put some money in my bank account, the one she set up for me when I was 12, for college savings. Did she? $500. Blood money to make herself feel better. Lily's jaw tightened. I haven't touched it. I'd rather starve than use anything from her. Stone studied her face. But you have been starving, haven't you? Lily didn't answer. She didn't need to. In the yellow glow of the parking lot lights, the truth was written all over her. The way her clothes hung off her frame, the sharpness of her cheekbones, the dark circles under her eyes that sleep couldn't fix because she never got enough of it. When's the last time you ate? Stone asked. I don't know. What day is it? Saturday. Lily thought about it. Wednesday, I think. Someone left half a sandwich on a bench outside the courthouse. Turkey and cheese. It was good. 3 days. Stone stood up abruptly. Stay here. What? Where are you going? I said stay here, don't move. I'll be right back. He walked toward the truck stop without looking back. Lily watched him disappear through the front door, her heart hammering. Was he going to call the cops? Tell the other bikers some crazy homeless girl was messing with their bikes? She should run. That's what her survival instincts were screaming at her. Run, disappear into the night, find a new hiding spot, start over somewhere else. But she didn't move. Something about the way he'd listened, the way he'd looked at those photos, the way his fists had clenched when she told him about her mother. Nobody had reacted like that in 14 months. 5 minutes later, Stone came back out. He wasn't alone. 4 men followed him, all wearing the same leather vests, all covered in tattoos, all looking like they'd stepped out of every mother's worst nightmare. One was bald with a gray beard down to his chest. One was younger, maybe 30, with sleeve tattoos of skulls and roses. One was enormous, even bigger than Stone, with arms like tree trunks. The last was thin and wiry, with sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Lily scrambled to her feet, ready to run. Relax, Stone said. These are my brothers. Rev, Axel, Hammer, and Ghost. The bald one, Rev, was carrying a paper bag. He handed it to Lily without a word. She looked inside. A burger, fries, a bottle of water, a candy bar. Lily's hands started shaking so badly she almost dropped the bag. Eat, Stone said. Then you're going to tell them everything you just told me. Why? Lily's voice came out as a whisper. Why do you care? Stone's jaw tightened. For a moment, something flickered across his scarred face, something old and painful that Lily recognized because she felt it every day. Because I had a daughter, he said quietly. She'd be about your age if she was still alive, and when she needed help, nobody listened to her either. The words hung in the night air. Lily looked at the bag of food in her hands, then at the 5 men standing in front of her, scarred, tattooed, terrifying to anyone who didn't know better. For the first time in 14 months, she didn't feel invisible. She sat back down on the curb, opened the bag, and started to eat while the Hell's Angels gathered around her in a protective half circle, waiting to hear the rest of her story. Okay, she said between bites, her voice steadier now. I'll tell you everything, but you need to understand, this isn't just about Patricia Lawson anymore. What do you mean? Rev asked. His voice was surprisingly gentle for a man who looked like he could bench press a car. Lily swallowed a bite of burger. Her stomach cramped. It always did when she ate after going too long without food, but she ignored it. 3 weeks ago, I found something that changes everything. The bikers exchanged glances. I was going through the papers Dorothy copied for me, financial records mostly, stuff I barely understood. But there was one document that didn't match the others, a receipt for construction materials, addressed to Mercy House, but delivered to a different address. What address? Stone asked. The construction company, Vance Brothers Construction. Lily looked up at him. Derek Vance's company. Silence. Your stepfather, Ghost said slowly, is connected to the shelter that's been stealing money from homeless kids? Not just connected. Patricia Lawson's maiden name is Patricia Vance. She's Derek's sister. Stone went very still. What are you saying? Lily set down the burger. Her appetite was gone. I'm saying that the woman running the shelter and the man who married my mother are brother and sister. I'm saying that $500,000 in settlement money went to my mom after my dad died on a Vance Brothers construction site. I'm saying that 3 months after that money landed, Derek Vance convinced my mother to marry him and throw her daughter out on the street. Her voice hardened. And I'm saying that my dad, the man who taught me to notice things, to pay attention, to never accept easy answers, was about to file a complaint with OSHA the week he died. Safety violations on the job site. He had documentation. He was going to report Derek Vance's company. The pieces fell into place like dominoes. You think your father's death wasn't an accident, Stone said. It wasn't a question. I think my father was murdered. Lily's eyes were dry and burning. I think Derek Vance killed him for the insurance money and to shut him up about the safety violations. I think he targeted my mother because she was vulnerable and because $500,000 was sitting there waiting to be taken. And I think his sister Patricia has been stealing from homeless kids for years while Derek gets a cut. Jesus Christ, Axel breathed. And I think, Lily's voice finally cracked, I think my mother knows, maybe not everything, but enough. And she chose money and a new life over finding out the truth about what happened to my dad. Stone crouched down so he was eye level with her. That's a lot of accusations, kid. You got proof? Real proof, not just pieces that fit together in a way that makes sense? Lily reached into her hoodie pocket one more time. She pulled out a flash drive. Small, black, battered from months of being carried everywhere. Dorothy found financial records going back 6 years, ghost donations, fake occupancy reports, money moving between Mercy House accounts, and a shell company that traces back to Derek Vance. There's also an email chain from 3 years ago, Patricia asking her brother for advice on how to handle an auditor who was asking too many questions. What happened to the auditor? He died, car accident on Highway 12, single vehicle, late at night, no witnesses. Lily's hand was steady as she held out the flash drive. I've been carrying this for 2 months, waiting for someone, anyone, to look at it and believe me. Stone took the flash drive. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he stood up and turned to his brothers. Church meeting, he said. Tonight, call everyone. Everyone? Hammer's deep voice rumbled like distant thunder. It's almost 10 on a Saturday, Stone. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning on Christmas. Call every brother in the state. Call Wyoming, Idaho, and North Dakota too. Reverend raised an eyebrow. You want to mobilize 4 chapters over a flash drive? Stone turned back to look at Lily, small, starving, sitting on a cold concrete curb with a half-eaten burger in her lap, and 14 months of survival etched into her too-thin face. This girl wrote 200 notes begging for someone to help her, he said quietly. 200. And not one person gave enough of a damn to listen. Kids are dying while some rich woman steals the money meant to save them. A man might have been murdered, and his widow married the killer. He held up the flash drive. If even half of what's on here is true, we're going to need every brother we've got, because we're not just taking down a corrupt shelter director. We're taking down everyone who looked the other way while children died on the streets. Silence. Then Reb nodded slowly. I'll make the calls. Ghost was already pulling out his phone. I'll start on the financial records tonight, see what we're really dealing with. Hammer cracked his knuckles, a sound like small explosions. What about the girl? Stone looked at Lily. You got somewhere to sleep tonight? She almost laughed. Almost. I was going to try the bus station. They usually don't kick you out until midnight. Not anymore. Stone held out his hand. You're coming with us. Lily stared at his outstretched hand. Scarred knuckles, faded tattoos, a ring on his middle finger with some kind of symbol she didn't recognize. Why are you helping me? She asked. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. You're right, I don't know you. Stone's voice softened, just barely, just enough. But I know what it's like to watch someone you love disappear into a system that doesn't give a damn. I know what it's like to show up too late to save them. He kept his hand extended. I couldn't save my daughter. I've lived with that for 6 years. But maybe I can make sure nobody else has to lose theirs. Lily looked at his hand, then at the other 4 bikers, rough, scarred, terrifying to anyone who judged by appearances. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Don't judge a book by its cover, Lilybug. The people who look the scariest are sometimes the ones with the biggest hearts. She reached out and took Stone's hand. His grip was firm, warm, steady, the grip of someone who didn't let go of things that mattered. Okay, she said. What happens now? Stone pulled her to her feet. Now, he said, we go to war. The ride to the clubhouse took 17 minutes. Lily sat behind Stone on his Harley, her arms wrapped around his waist, her face pressed against the leather of his vest. She could feel the rumble of the engine through her entire body, vibrating in her chest like a second heartbeat. She'd never been on a motorcycle before. Her father had always said he'd teach her to ride when she turned 18. Just you and me, Lilybug. We'll take Highway 12 all the way to the mountains. Watch the sunrise from the top. That was never going to happen now. But somehow, speeding through the dark Montana night, with a man she'd met an hour ago, surrounded by 4 other motorcycles carrying men who looked like they could tear the world apart with their bare hands. Somehow, for the first time in 14 months, Lily didn't feel afraid. She felt something else entirely. She felt seen. The clubhouse was a converted warehouse on the edge of town, past the railroad tracks, past the abandoned grain elevator, in the part of Riverside that most people pretended didn't exist. Stone pulled into a gravel lot already filled with motorcycles, more than Lily could count in the dim light, and killed the engine. We're here. Lily climbed off the bike on shaky legs. The other 4 bikers pulled in beside them, engines dying one by one, until the only sound was the wind and the distant hum of the highway. How many people are in there? Lily asked. Right now? Maybe 30. By morning? Stone pulled off his helmet. A lot more. He started walking toward the entrance. Lily hesitated. Rev noticed. He hung back while the others went ahead, his gray beard catching the light from the single bulb above the door. Scared? He asked. No judgment in his voice, just curiosity. Should I be? Rev smiled. It softened his whole face, made him look less like a warrior and more like someone's grandfather. Nah, you're under Stone's protection now. That means you're under all our protection. Anyone in there would die before they let something happen to you. Why? You don't even know me. Don't need to. Rev started walking, gesturing for her to follow. Stone says you're worth protecting. That's enough for every man in that building. Lily followed him through the door. The inside of the clubhouse was nothing like she expected. She'd imagined something dark and dangerous, pool tables maybe, or rows of weapons on the walls. Instead, she walked into what looked like a large common room with worn couches, a kitchen area in the corner, and walls covered with photographs. Photographs of families, of children, of barbecues and birthday parties and Christmas mornings, and everywhere, the Hells Angels insignia. 30 or 40 men filled the room, all of them turning to look as Stone entered with Lily behind him. The conversations died. The laughter stopped. Every eye locked onto the thin, dirty, exhausted teenager standing in their clubhouse at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Stone didn't hesitate. "Brothers," he said, his voice carrying across the room. "This is Lily Harper. She's 17 years old. She's been living on the streets for 14 months, and she's got evidence that kids are dying in this town because someone's stealing the money meant to save them." Silence. Then a voice from the back. "What kind of evidence?" Stone held up the flash drive. "The kind that's going to bring down a shelter director, a construction company owner, possibly a police captain, and anyone else who looked the other way while children froze to death 3 miles from this building." More silence. Then a man stepped forward. He was older than most of the others, maybe 60, with silver hair pulled back in a ponytail and a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. His vest had more patches than anyone else's. "That's a hell of an accusation, brother." His voice was deep, gravelly, the voice of a man who'd seen everything and stopped being surprised by any of it. "You sure about this?" "I'm sure enough to call a full chapter meeting, priest." Stone met the older man's eyes without flinching. "I'm sure enough to ask for a vote." The man called priest studied Stone for a long moment. Then his gaze shifted to Lily. "Come here, girl." Lily's feet felt frozen to the floor, but she forced herself to move, to walk across the room until she stood in front of this man who radiated authority like heat from a furnace. "Look at me." She looked. Priest's eyes were dark brown, almost black, and they seemed to see straight through her, past the dirty clothes, past the hunger, past the fear, down to something deeper. "You telling the truth?" he asked. "Everything you told Stone, it's all true?" "Yes, sir." "You understand what happens if you're lying? If you're playing us for some reason we don't understand yet?" Lily's jaw tightened. "I've spent 14 months being called a liar by everyone I asked for help. Police, social workers, teachers, my own mother." Her voice didn't waver. "I'm not lying. Kids are dead because of Patricia Lawson. My father might be dead because of Derek Vance. And nobody has cared enough to do anything about it until tonight." Priest was quiet for a moment. Then he turned to Stone. "Call the vote." Stone nodded. "All in favor of opening an official investigation into Mercy House Youth Shelter, Patricia Lawson, and Derek Vance, raise your hand." Every hand in the room went up. Every single one. Lily felt her knees go weak. "Motion carries," Priest said. "Ghost, get that flash drive analyzed. Rev, start making calls. I want every chapter president in 4 states on a conference call by midnight. Hammer, set up security rotation for the girl. She doesn't leave this building without an escort until we know what we're dealing with." Men started moving, purpose in every step. "And someone," Priest added, "get this child something to eat. She looks like she hasn't had a real meal in months." A woman appeared at Lily's elbow, middle-aged, with kind eyes and gray-streaked hair pulled back in a braid. She wore no leather vest, but there was a wedding ring on her finger and a warmth in her face that made Lily's throat tighten. "I'm Martha," the woman said, "Rev's wife. Come with me, sweetheart. Let's get you cleaned up and fed while the boys figure out their war plans." Lily looked at Stone. He nodded. "Go, you're safe here. I'll come find you when we have something." Martha led Lily through a door at the back of the common room, down a hallway lined with more photographs, and into a small apartment that smelled like cinnamon and coffee. "Sit down," Martha said, gesturing to a worn but comfortable-looking couch. "When's the last time you slept in an actual bed?" Lily had to think about it. "I don't remember." Martha's face tightened. Just for a moment, just enough for Lily to see the anger beneath the kindness. "Well, that changes tonight. But first, soup, and a shower, and some clothes that don't look like they've been through a war." She disappeared into the kitchen. Lily heard cabinets opening, the sound of a pot being placed on a stove, water running. Normal sounds, domestic sounds, sounds Lily hadn't heard in 14 months. She started crying. She didn't mean to, didn't want to. She'd trained herself not to cry. Crying attracted attention, and attention on the streets was almost never good. But sitting on this soft couch in this warm room with a stranger making her soup like it was the most natural thing in the world, something inside Lily cracked open. Martha came back with a box of tissues. She didn't say anything, didn't offer empty comfort or ask questions Lily couldn't answer. She just sat down next to her, put an arm around her shoulders, and let her cry. "I know," Martha murmured. "I know, sweetheart, let it out." "I'm sorry," Lily gasped between sobs. "I'm sorry, I don't usually. I can't." "You don't have to apologize. Not here, not ever." Martha's arm tightened around her. "You've been carrying this alone for too long. It's okay to put it down for a minute." Lily cried until she couldn't cry anymore, until her eyes burned and her chest ached and her body felt hollowed out and strangely lighter. When she finally lifted her head, Martha handed her a tissue. "Better?" "I don't know." Lily wiped her face. "Maybe." "That's honest. I like honest." Martha stood up. "Soup's almost ready, and I put some clothes in the bathroom. Should fit you well enough. Take a shower, take your time. Nobody's going anywhere tonight." 20 minutes later, Lily sat at Martha's kitchen table, wearing clean sweatpants and an oversized Hells Angels t-shirt, eating the best chicken soup she'd ever tasted. "This is incredible," she said between spoonfuls. "What's in it?" "Family recipe. My grandmother brought it over from Poland in 1952. Martha smiled. "She always said soup could fix anything. Broken hearts, broken bones, broken spirits. Just add enough love and let it simmer." Did it work? For 60 years and counting. Lily ate in silence for a few minutes. The warmth spread through her body, pushing out the cold that had lived in her bones for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to be truly warm. "Can I ask you something?" she finally said. "Anything." "Stone mentioned a daughter, said she'd be about my age if she was still alive." Lily hesitated. "What happened to her?" Martha's face changed. The warmth didn't leave, but something sadder crept in alongside it. "That's Stone's story to tell, not mine. But I can tell you this much. Sarah was a sweet girl, smart, kind, had her father's stubborn streak and her mother's laugh." Martha paused. "She got mixed up with the wrong people when she was 15, started using. Stone and his wife tried everything. Rehab, therapy, tough love, soft love. Nothing worked. She overdosed? She was 16 years and 3 months old. Stone found her in her bedroom." Martha's voice was quiet. "He hasn't been the same since. His wife left 6 months later. Couldn't stand to be around the grief anymore. Can't say I blame her, but I also can't say I forgive her for leaving him alone with it." Lily set down her spoon. "That's why he stopped," she said slowly. "In the parking lot. That's why he didn't just walk away like everyone else. Stone sees his daughter in every lost kid he meets. Most of the time there's nothing he can do about it. Just watch and hurt and remember." Martha met Lily's eyes. "But you gave him something to do. A fight to fight. A chance to save someone he couldn't save before." "I didn't mean to." "I know you didn't. That's what makes it matter." Martha reached across the table and squeezed Lily's hand. "You weren't looking for a hero, Lily. You were just looking for someone to believe you. And sometimes that's exactly the same thing." A knock at the door interrupted them. "Martha, the girl awake?" Stone's voice. "Come in," Martha called. The door opened. Stone entered, followed by Ghost, the thin, sharp-eyed biker from the parking lot. "We found something," Stone said. His face was grim. "Ghost has been going through the flash drive." Lily stood up. "What did you find?" Ghost pulled out a laptop, set it on the kitchen table, and turned the screen toward her. "The financial records you and Dorothy collected, they're solid. Better than solid. We're talking 6 years of fraudulent occupancy reports, ghost donations from fake charities, and money transfers to a shell company called Riverside Holdings, LLC. That's Derek's company, Lily said. I knew it. It gets worse. Ghost clicked to another screen. Riverside Holdings has been funneling money to 3 other organizations: a construction supply company, a real estate development firm, and, this is the interesting part, a private security contractor. Private security? Armed guards, the kind companies hire when they want protection that doesn't ask questions. Ghost's sharp eyes met hers. The same contractor provided security for 3 different construction sites where workplace accidents killed employees in the past 5 years. Lily felt the blood drain from her face. My father, Thomas Harper, died November 14th, approximately 14 months ago. Scaffolding collapse at a Vance Brothers construction site. Ghost's voice was flat, factual, but his eyes were anything but. According to OSHA reports, the scaffolding failed due to structural defects that should have been caught during routine safety inspections. My dad was going to report those defects. He had documentation. We know because we found his documentation. Ghost clicked to another screen. Your father emailed copies of his safety reports to someone 3 days before he died. Someone he trusted to hold on to them in case something happened to him. Who? Ghost turned the laptop fully toward her. On the screen was an email from Thomas Harper to Dorothy Henderson. The shelter volunteer? Lily's voice cracked. Dorothy knew my father? Dorothy Henderson has been volunteering at Mercy House for 8 years. But before that, she worked at the county records office for 32 years. Ghost leaned back. She was the one who processed the paperwork when your father bought his house. They stayed in touch, Christmas cards, occasional phone calls. When he needed someone he could trust with sensitive information, he went to her. Lily's mind was spinning. Dorothy, the 73-year-old volunteer who'd helped her gather evidence, who'd slipped her copies of financial records, who told her to be careful, to watch her back, to trust no one. Dorothy had known her father. Dorothy had been holding his evidence for 14 months. Why didn't she tell me? Lily whispered. Because someone got to her first. Stone's voice was hard. Dorothy Henderson was admitted to Riverside General Hospital 6 days ago. Officially, she fell down the stairs at her home and suffered a head injury. She's been in a medically induced coma ever since. No, Lily shook her head. No, that's not. I saw her 2 weeks ago. She was fine. We sent someone to the hospital to check on her. Stone's jaw tightened. Hammer just called. There's a private security guard outside her room. Not hospital security, private, from the same contractor that's connected to Derek Vance. The kitchen suddenly felt very cold. They tried to kill her, Lily said. They found out she was helping me, and they tried to kill her. That's what we think. But she's still alive, Lily stopped. They're not protecting her. They're watching her, making sure she doesn't wake up and talk. Stone nodded slowly. That's our assessment. Then we have to get her out of there. We're working on it. Stone held up a hand. But we need to be smart about this. These people have already killed at least once, maybe more. They've got connections to private security, possibly to local police. If we move too fast, too loud, people get hurt. People are already getting hurt. Lily's voice rose. Dorothy's in a coma. Kids are dying on the streets. My father is dead. How many more people have to get hurt before someone does something? That's why we called the other chapters. Stone didn't raise his voice to match hers. He stayed calm, steady, the eye of the storm. By tomorrow morning, we'll have 180 brothers from 4 states ready to move. We're going to do this right, Lily. We're going to get justice for your father, for Dorothy, for every kid who died because of Patricia Lawson's greed. But we're going to do it in a way that sticks, in a way they can't wriggle out of. Lily wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to run to the hospital right now and drag Dorothy out of there herself. But she looked at Stone's face, at the grief carved into every line, at the determination burning in those pale eyes, and she understood. He'd lost his daughter because he couldn't save her in time. He wasn't going to make the same mistake with Lily. "Okay," she said quietly. "What do we do now?" "Now, we keep digging." Ghost closed the laptop. "There's more on that flash drive, a lot more. And I want to go through every file, every email, every receipt until we know exactly what we're dealing with." "And while he does that," Stone added, "you need to rest. You're running on fumes. We can't afford to have you collapse when things get serious." "I can't sleep, not now, not knowing." "You can, and you will." Stone's voice left no room for argument. "Martha's got a bed made up for you. 4 hours minimum. Then we'll talk about next steps." Lily wanted to fight, but her body had other ideas. The soup, the warmth, the emotional release of finally being believed. It all crashed over her like a wave, and suddenly she could barely keep her eyes open. 4 hours, she said. "Then you wake me up." "Deal." Martha led her to a small bedroom at the back of the apartment. Clean sheets, a soft pillow, a quilt that smelled like lavender. Lily was asleep before her head hit the pillow. She dreamed of her father. They were standing on top of a mountain, watching the sunrise, just like he'd always promised. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink and gold, and Thomas Harper had his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "I'm proud of you, Lilybug," he said. "For what?" "For not giving up, for fighting, for being brave enough to ask scary-looking strangers for help." He smiled, that warm, crinkly smile she'd missed so much. "I always knew you were stronger than you believed." "I miss you, Dad." "I know, I miss you too." He squeezed her shoulder. "But you're not alone anymore. You found good people. Scary-looking maybe, but good where it counts." "How do you know?" "Because they stopped. Because they listened. Because they believed you when nobody else would." Thomas turned to face her. "That's rare, Lily. Don't take it for granted." "I won't." "And Lily?" His face grew serious. "Find the truth about what happened to me. Not for revenge. Revenge won't bring me back. But for justice. For the other workers who might die if Derek Vance keeps cutting corners. For Dorothy, who tried to help. For all the kids who deserve better." "I will, Dad. I promise." He pulled her into a hug. Strong arms, familiar smell, sawdust and coffee and the Old Spice aftershave he'd worn since she was a baby. "I love you, Lilybug." "I love you too, Dad." She woke up with tears on her face and sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The bed was too soft. The room was too warm. The quiet was too complete. Then memory rushed back. The parking lot, the note, Stone, the clubhouse, the evidence. Dorothy in a coma with a guard outside her door. Lily sat up quickly, heart pounding. How long had she been asleep? It felt like minutes, but the quality of light suggested hours. She found her shoes by the bed and pulled them on, then hurried out of the bedroom and down the hall. The common room was transformed. Where 30 or 40 men had gathered last night, now there were easily 3 times that number. The room buzzed with activity. Men clustered around tables covered in papers, others talking urgently into phones. A group gathered around multiple laptops where Ghost seemed to be leading a technical briefing. And standing in the middle of it all, issuing orders like a general commanding an army, was Stone. He saw her immediately. "You're awake. Good. Come here." Lily made her way through the crowd. Men parted to let her pass, nodding at her with respect she hadn't earned, acknowledging her like she was one of them. "How long was I out?" she asked. 6 hours. I decided you needed the extra time." "You said 4. I lied." Stone's face was serious. "You needed 6, and we needed time to verify what Ghost found." "What did he find?" Stone took her elbow and guided her toward a quieter corner of the room. "Your father wasn't the first," he said quietly. Lily's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "Ghost spent all night going through the financial records, the shell company connections, the private security contracts. Then he started cross-referencing with public records. News articles, police reports, OSHA investigations. He paused, and Lily saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Fury. Pure, controlled, devastating fury. In the past 6 years, there have been 11 workplace deaths at construction sites connected to Derek Vance's companies. 11 men, most of them young, most of them with families. And in 9 of those cases, 9, the workers had filed or were about to file safety complaints. Lily couldn't breathe. 9 people, she whispered. 9 that we can confirm. There might be more. Stone's jaw was tight. And in every single case, the deaths were ruled accidental. Faulty equipment, human error, tragic but unavoidable. But they weren't accidents. No, they weren't. Stone put his hand on her shoulder. Your father wasn't just murdered, Lily. He was the 11th victim of a man who's been killing workers to protect his profits for half a decade. And nobody, not the police, not OSHA, not the insurance companies, nobody ever connected the dots. Until now. Until you. Stone's grip tightened. You started this. You collected the evidence. You wrote the notes. You didn't give up when everyone else ignored you. And because of that, we're going to bring down not just a corrupt shelter director, but a serial killer hiding behind a construction company. Lily looked around the room. At the 100+ men in leather vests, covered in tattoos, looking like every mother's worst nightmare. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Don't judge a book by its cover, Lilybug. What's the plan? She asked. Stone smiled. It was small, tight, dangerous. The plan, he said, is to give Derek Vance and Patricia Lawson exactly what they deserve. And we start today. He led her toward the center of the room, where Priest stood waiting with a map spread out on the table in front of him. Lily Harper, Priest said, the girl who started a war. You ready to see how it ends? Lily looked at the map. At the photos pinned to it, Patricia Lawson, Derek Vance, the police captain, the private security company logo. At the red strings connecting them all like a web of corruption and death. Her father's face hung at the center. Yes, she said. I'm ready. Priest nodded slowly. Then let's begin. Priest's finger traced the red strings connecting the photographs on the map. 6 years, he said. 6 years of stealing from homeless kids, killing workers who asked too many questions, and getting away with it because the right people were paid to look the other way. That ends now. He turned to face the room. Over 100 men stood waiting, their faces hard with the kind of anger that doesn't burn hot, but cold, the kind that doesn't fade until justice is done. We're not vigilantes, Priest continued. We're not going to drag these people into the street and beat them to death, no matter how much they deserve it. We're going to do this the right way. We're going to gather evidence so solid that no lawyer, no judge, no bought-off police captain can make it disappear. And then we're going to hand it to the FBI and watch them burn. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Stone, you're running point on this. What do you need? Stone stepped forward. 3 teams. First team handles surveillance. Eyes on Patricia Lawson, Derek Vance, and Captain Williams around the clock. I want to know where they go, who they talk to, what they eat for breakfast. Second team focuses on witnesses. We need to find the families of the other workers who died, see if any of them suspected foul play, gather statements. Third team handles Dorothy Henderson. The hospital? Axel asked. The hospital. Stone's jaw tightened. She's the key to all of this. She has Thomas Harper's original documentation, and she's been collecting evidence on the shelter for years. If she wakes up and talks, it's over for them. That's why they've got a guard on her door. So what's the play? We get her out. Stone looked around the room. Legally. Hammer's sister is a nurse at Riverside General. She's going to help us transfer Dorothy to a different facility, one where Vance's people can't reach her. Once she's safe, we wait for her to wake up. And if she doesn't wake up? Ghost asked quietly. The question hung in the air. Then we use what we've got, Stone said. The flash drive, the financial records, the pattern of deaths. It's enough to start a federal investigation, even without Dorothy's testimony. But with her testimony, it's a slam dunk, Priest finished. All right, teams are assigned. Everyone knows their jobs. Let's move. The room erupted into organized chaos. Men grabbed jackets, checked phones, headed for the door in groups of 3 and 4. Within minutes, the clubhouse had emptied to a skeleton crew. Lily stood in the middle of it all, feeling like she'd stepped into someone else's life. You okay? Stone appeared at her side. I don't know. She watched the last group of bikers disappear through the door. This is all happening so fast. Yesterday I was leaving notes on helmets, hoping someone would read one. Today there's 180 people ready to go to war for me. Not for you, with you. Stone's hand rested briefly on her shoulder. There's a difference. You started this fight. We're just joining it. Why though? Really? I know you said it's because of your daughter, but there has to be more to it than that. These men have jobs, families, lives. Why would they drop everything for a girl they don't know? Stone was quiet for a moment. You know what most people think when they see us? Criminals, thugs, the kind of men you cross the street to avoid. He shook his head slowly. And yeah, some of us have done time. Some of us have made mistakes we're not proud of. But most of us? We're just regular guys who like motorcycles and found a brotherhood that accepts us for who we are. That doesn't answer my question. I'm getting there. Stone sat down on one of the worn couches, and after a moment, Lily sat beside him. When you're in a club like this, you learn real quick that the world doesn't give a damn about you. Cops assume you're guilty before you've done anything wrong. Businesses won't serve you. Parents pull their kids closer when you walk by. You're invisible to everyone except the people who want to hurt you. Lily's chest tightened. I know what that feels like. I figured you did. Stone met her eyes. That's why we help. Because we know what it's like to be written off by everyone. Because we know what it's like to need someone in your corner and have nobody show up. And because, he paused, his voice roughening, because some of us have lost people we loved and we couldn't save them. And this is the only way we know how to make that mean something. Lily didn't say anything. She didn't need to. They sat in silence for a moment, and for the first time in 14 months, the quiet didn't feel lonely. Come on, Stone finally said, standing up. We've got work to do. The first report came in at 2:47 p.m. Rev's voice crackled through Stone's phone speaker. Eyes on Lawson. She just pulled into the shelter parking lot in that Mercedes of hers. Got a passenger, male, mid-40s, expensive suit. They're going inside together. Get a photo if you can, Stone said. Already on it, sending now. Lily watched over Stone's shoulder as the image loaded. A woman in her early 50s stepped out of a silver Mercedes, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her clothes obviously expensive even from a distance. The man beside her was tall, dark-haired, with a kind of confident posture that came from having money and knowing it. That's her, Lily said. Patricia Lawson. But I don't recognize the man. Ghost pulled the image up on his laptop and ran it through a facial recognition database he definitely shouldn't have had access to. Got him. Robert Chen, attorney at Chen and Associates. They specialize in corporate law and, here's the interesting part, asset protection. Asset protection, Stone repeated. She's moving money. That's my read. If she knows someone's looking at her financials, the first thing she'd do is try to hide whatever she can before the feds get involved. Lily's heart rate spiked. We can't let her do that. If she moves the money, we lose proof of where it went. We're not losing anything. Ghost was already typing. I've got alerts set up on every account connected to Riverside Holdings. The second she tries to transfer funds, I'll know about it, and I'll have records the feds can subpoena. How do you know how to do all this? Lily asked. Ghost smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I used to work for a hedge fund, made a lot of money helping rich people hide their assets from the IRS. Then I met a girl who showed me what was being hidden. Pension funds stolen from teachers. Retirement accounts drained from nurses. Life savings taken from people who work their whole lives for security they'd never see. His jaw tightened. I quit the next day. Spent the past 8 years making sure people like that don't get away with it anymore. And now you're a Hell's Angel. Now I'm a Hell's Angel who uses his powers for good. Ghost turned back to his laptop. Lawson just initiated a wire transfer. $200,000 to an offshore account in the Caymans. Can you stop it? I don't have to stop it. I just have to document it. Ghost's fingers flew across the keyboard. Every transfer she makes from this point forward is another nail in her coffin. The FBI loves paper trails, and Patricia Lawson just started building them, one she can't take back. The second report came at 4:15 p.m. Hammer's deep voice filled the room. We got a problem at the hospital. Stone grabbed the phone. What kind of problem? The guard outside Dorothy's room? He just got reinforced. 2 more guys showed up about an hour ago. They're not hospital security, private contractors, same company as the first one. And they're asking questions about who's been visiting. Lily's blood ran cold. They know someone's watching. Looks like it. Hammer's voice was grim. My sister says they've been pressuring the nursing staff all day, wanting to know if anyone's asked about Dorothy's condition, if anyone's tried to see her. She's doing her best to play dumb, but she's scared. Can we still get Dorothy out? Not with 3 guards on her door. We'd need a distraction, something big enough to clear that wing of the hospital without raising too many questions. Stone looked at Priest, who'd been listening from across the room. I might have an idea, Priest said slowly. It's risky, and I don't love it, but it could work. I'm listening. My grandson's got epilepsy. Bad. He has seizures that look like the real thing because they are the real thing. Priest's face was conflicted. If he had one in the hospital lobby, a serious one, the kind that draws every available nurse and doctor, it might pull enough attention away from Dorothy's floor to give us a window. You want to use your grandson as a distraction? I want my grandson to have a seizure in a place where there are people trained to help him, instead of at home where it's just me and his mother. Priest's voice hardened. And if while he's being treated, some of my brothers happen to relocate an old woman to a safer facility, that's just a coincidence. Stone was quiet for a moment. Will he be okay? He'll be fine, probably better than fine. Hospital's got better equipment than we do. And he'd want to help. Kid's got a good heart. Gets it from his grandmother. When can we do this? Priest checked his watch. Tonight. Shift changes at 8. That's when security's lightest and staff is most distracted. We move then. The hours until 8 o'clock felt like days. Lily tried to rest, but sleep wouldn't come. She paced the common room, ate food she couldn't taste, stared at the map on the wall with its web of photographs and red strings until the faces blurred together. Stone found her there at 6:30, standing in front of her father's picture. Tell me about him, Stone said quietly. Lily didn't turn around. He was the best man I ever knew. Strong, but not hard, you know? He could lift me over his head when I was 12 like I weighed nothing, but I never once saw him raise his hand to anyone in anger. What did he do before construction? Marines, 2 tours in Afghanistan. He saw things there, terrible things, but he never let them make him cruel. He used to say that the world had enough angry men, and his job was to be a peaceful one. Sounds like a good man. He was, Lily's voice cracked. He used to read to me every night before bed, even when I was old enough to read myself. He said that was the best part of his day. 15 minutes of just me and him and a good story. We got through all of Harry Potter that way, all of Lord of the Rings. He was starting the Count of Monte Cristo when... She stopped. When? Stone prompted gently. When he died. Lily's hand reached out, almost touching the photograph. We were on chapter 7. I never finished it. I couldn't. Every time I tried, I heard his voice reading the words, and it hurt too much. Stone was quiet for a moment. The Count of Monte Cristo is about a man who's wronged by people he trusted, betrayed, left to die. But he doesn't die. He escapes, and he spends years, decades, planning the perfect revenge on everyone who hurt him. I know what it's about. Do you know how it ends? Lily shook her head. He gets his revenge. All of it. Every person who betrayed him is destroyed. But in the end, he realizes that revenge didn't make him happy. It didn't bring back what he'd lost. It just made him into a different kind of monster. Stone put his hand on her shoulder. Your father was reading you that book for a reason, Lily. He wanted you to understand that justice and revenge aren't the same thing. What if I want both? Then you'd be human. Stone turned her gently to face him. But you have to choose which one matters more. Because revenge will eat you alive. It'll turn you into someone your father wouldn't recognize. But justice, real justice, that's something you can live with, something you can build on. Is that what this is? Justice? That's what I'm trying to make it. Stone's eyes were serious. I won't lie to you, Lily. Part of me wants to find Derek Vance and beat him to death with my bare hands for what he did to your father. Part of me wants to watch Patricia Lawson suffer the way those kids on the street suffered. But that part of me doesn't get to make the decisions. Because I've got brothers counting on me to be better than that. And now I've got you. Me? You wrote 200 notes asking for help, not revenge. You collected evidence to prove wrongdoing, not to hurt people. You did everything right, even when everyone else did everything wrong. Stone's grip tightened on her shoulder. That means something. That matters. And I'm not going to be the one who takes that away from you by turning this into a bloodbath. Lily felt tears pricking at her eyes. She blinked them back. Okay, she said quietly. Justice, not revenge. Justice, Stone agreed. Now come on, it's almost time. The call came at 7:52 p.m. Priest's voice was tight with controlled tension. We're in position. My grandson just went into the ER. Seizure started in the parking lot. Paramedics are with him now. It's drawing a crowd. How is he? Scared, but okay, he's a tough kid. Priest paused. Hammer's team is moving to Dorothy's floor. Security's distracted. 2 of the 3 guards went down to see what the commotion was about. There's only 1 left on her door. Can Hammer handle 1 guard? Hammer can handle 3 guards and a German Shepherd if he needs to. 1's not going to be a problem. Stone looked at Lily. We're going to the hospital. You stay here. No, Lily stood up. I'm coming with you. This isn't negotiable. You're right, it's not. Lily's jaw was set. Dorothy risked her life to help me. She held on to my father's evidence for 14 months, knowing it could get her killed. And it almost did. If she wakes up tonight, I want to be there. I want her to see a friendly face. I want her to know she didn't go through all of this alone. Stone stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Stay close to me. Don't talk to anyone unless I tell you to. And if things go sideways, you run. Understand? I understand. They took Stone's truck instead of his motorcycle. Less conspicuous, more room for passengers. The drive to Riverside General took 12 minutes, and Lily spent every one of them with her heart in her throat. The parking lot was chaos. Ambulances, police cars, a fire truck for some reason. People clustered near the ER entrance, straining to see what was happening inside. Priest's grandson had done his job well. Stone parked near the back of the lot, away from the commotion. Hammer, report. The phone crackled. We're in. Guard's been handled. He's taking a nap in a supply closet. Dorothy's being transferred to a wheelchair now. We'll meet you at the service entrance in 4 minutes. Copy that. Stone and Lily got out of the truck and moved quickly toward the back of the hospital, staying in shadows, avoiding the pools of light from the security cameras. The service entrance was propped open when they arrived. 2 minutes later, Hammer appeared, pushing a wheelchair with a fragile-looking woman wrapped in blankets. An IV bag hung from a portable stand attached to the chair, and her eyes were closed. She woke up, Hammer said breathlessly. About an hour ago, according to my sister. She was asking for someone named Thomas. Lily's chest constricted. That's my father's name. She's in and out, mostly out, but she knows where she is, and she knows she's in danger. Hammer started pushing the wheelchair toward Stone's truck. We need to move, now. Someone's going to notice she's gone any minute. They loaded Dorothy into the back seat of the truck, Lily climbing in beside her to keep the IV stable. Stone got behind the wheel. Hammer disappeared back into the hospital to cover their tracks. Go, Lily said. Go, go, go. Stone floored it. They were 3 miles from the hospital when the old woman's eyes fluttered open. Thomas? Her voice was weak, confused. Thomas, is that you? Lily leaned closer, her heart pounding. No, ma'am, it's Lily. Lily Harper. Thomas was my father. Dorothy's eyes focused slowly. Recognition dawned. Lily. Her hand reached out, trembling, and Lily took it. I've been waiting for you. I knew you'd come. I knew. She coughed, a wet, rattling sound. I knew you'd find someone to believe you. You knew about me? Your father talked about you all the time. His lily bug. Tears leaked from Dorothy's eyes. He loved you so much. He was so proud of you. You knew him? Really knew him? He came to me 3 days before he died, said he had evidence that could bring down Derek Vance, but he was scared. Scared something might happen to him before he could report it. Dorothy's grip tightened on Lily's hand. He gave me copies of everything, made me promise that if anything happened to him, I'd find a way to get justice. Why didn't you go to the police? I tried. Dorothy's face crumpled. A week after your father died, I called the station, asked to speak to a detective. Captain Williams himself took my call, said he'd send someone to collect the evidence. Her voice dropped to a whisper. 2 days later, my house was broken into. Everything Thomas gave me was stolen. But you had copies. I had copies hidden somewhere else, somewhere they didn't know to look. Dorothy's eyes met Lily's. I've been gathering more evidence ever since, documenting everything Patricia Lawson did at that shelter, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. That's what you gave me, on the flash drive. That's everything, all of it, enough to bring them all down. Dorothy's breathing was getting shallower, but they found out. Someone at the shelter saw me copying files. They came to my house, made it look like an accident. Who pushed you? I didn't see his face, but I heard his voice. Dorothy closed her eyes. It was the same voice I heard on Captain Williams' phone when he thought I wasn't listening. The day after I reported Thomas's evidence to the police. Lily's blood turned to ice. Captain Williams was there? At your house? No, but the man who pushed me, he called someone right before he did it. Said, "It's done, Captain. She won't be talking to anyone." Dorothy opened her eyes again. Williams isn't just looking the other way, Lily. He's part of it. He's been part of it from the beginning. Stone's hands tightened on the steering wheel. That's why the police never investigated the workplace deaths, he said grimly. That's why every report Lily filed was ignored. Williams has been burying evidence for years. He was at my father's funeral, Lily whispered. I remember him. He gave a speech about what a good man Dad was. He shook my mother's hand and told her the department was there for her if she needed anything. And 2 months later, your mother married the man who killed your father. Stone's voice was hard. Convenient timing. Lily felt sick. Do you think she knew? My mother? Do you think she knew Williams was covering for Derek? I don't know. Stone glanced at her in the rearview mirror. But I think we need to find out. Dorothy's hand squeezed Lily's weakly. There's something else, the old woman said. Something I haven't told anyone. Something that's kept me scared for 14 months. What is it? Dorothy's voice dropped so low, Lily had to lean close to hear. Your father isn't the only one who was going to report Derek Vance. There was another worker, 3 years before Thomas, a man named Michael Torres. He had the same evidence, the same complaints. He was going to OSHA, same as your father. What happened to him? He died. Car accident on Highway 12. Single vehicle, late at night, no witnesses. Dorothy's eyes bore into Lily's. Same highway, same type of accident, same lack of witnesses. And his death was investigated by the same detective who investigated your father's scaffolding collapse. Williams. Williams, Dorothy nodded weakly. It's not just 11 deaths, Lily. It's a pattern that goes back nearly a decade. And Captain Williams has been there every step of the way, making sure no one ever connects the dots. The truck was silent except for the hum of the engine. Then Stone spoke. Ghost, you getting all this? A speaker on the dashboard crackled to life. Every word, brother. I've been recording since we left the hospital, and I'm already pulling records on Michael Torres. Find everything you can. Williams just became target number 1. Copy that. Lily looked at Dorothy, at this fragile, brave woman who had kept her father's secrets for 14 months, who had risked her life gathering evidence, who had nearly died for the truth. Thank you, Lily said, her voice breaking, for believing him, for trying to help, for not giving up. Dorothy smiled weakly. Your father believed in you, Lily. He said you were the bravest person he knew, even when you didn't feel brave. He said you had a good heart and a stubborn streak a mile wide, and someday you'd change the world. Tears streamed down Lily's face. I just wanted someone to listen. Someone did. Dorothy's eyes fluttered closed. Someone finally did. Her grip on Lily's hand went slack. Dorothy? Dorothy! She's okay, Stone said quickly, glancing back. She's just exhausted. Let her rest. Lily watched Dorothy's chest rise and fall, reassured by the steady rhythm of her breathing. Where are we taking her? Safe house. One of our brothers has a cabin about 30 miles outside of town. No connection to the club on paper, completely off the grid. She'll be protected there until this is over. And then what? Stone's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. And then we bring down everyone who thought they could get away with murder. The phone rang. Stone answered it on speaker. Go ahead. Reb's voice was urgent. We've got movement. Lawson just left the shelter with Derek Vance. They're headed toward the hospital. Looks like they just found out Dorothy's missing. How long until they realize she's not there? Minutes, maybe less. Stone, they're panicking. I can see it from here. Lawson's on the phone, screaming at someone. Vance looks like he's ready to kill somebody. Good. Let them panic. Stone's voice was cold. Panic people make mistakes, and we're going to be there to catch every single one. He hung up and pressed the accelerator harder. Behind them, through the rear window, Lily could see the lights of Riverside getting smaller. Ahead of them, nothing but darkness and the open road. And somewhere in that darkness, justice was waiting. The cabin sat at the end of a dirt road that didn't appear on any map. Stone pulled the truck to a stop, and within seconds, 4 men emerged from the shadows. Hell's Angels who'd arrived hours earlier to secure the location. They helped carry Dorothy inside, while Lily followed close behind, still holding the IV bag that kept the old woman alive. She needs a doctor, Lily said. One's on the way. Stone guided her through the door. Brother named Sawbones, used to be an army medic. He's patched up more bullet wounds than most surgeons. A head injury and some dehydration won't even make him blink. They laid Dorothy on a bed in the back room, and Lily sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall with each shallow breath. She's going to be okay, Stone said from the doorway. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. He paused. There's a difference. Lily didn't respond. She just kept watching Dorothy breathe. 40 minutes later, Sawbones arrived, a wiry man in his 50s with steady hands and kind eyes. He examined Dorothy thoroughly while Lily paced the small cabin like a caged animal. She's stable, Sawbones finally announced. The head trauma was serious, but whoever treated her at the hospital did good work. She needs rest, fluids, and time, but she'll recover. Will she be able to testify? Sawbones looked at Lily with something like respect. Give her a few days. She's tougher than she looks. The relief hit Lily so hard her knees almost buckled. Stone caught her elbow. Easy. When's the last time you slept? Really slept? I don't remember. That's what I thought. He steered her toward a worn couch in the corner. Sawbones is staying with Dorothy. You need to rest. I can't. Not now, not when… Lily. Stone's voice was firm, but gentle. The next 48 hours are going to be the hardest of your life. You need to be sharp for what's coming. Sleep isn't optional. It's tactical. She wanted to argue, but her body was already betraying her, exhaustion seeping through every muscle like poison. 2 hours, she said. 4, 3. Deal. Stone grabbed a blanket from a nearby chair and draped it over her. I'll wake you the second anything happens. Lily was asleep before she could respond. She dreamed of her mother. They were standing in the kitchen of their old house, the one they'd lived in when Dad was still alive. Karen was making pancakes, the way she used to on Saturday mornings. The smell of butter and maple syrup filled the air. Mom? Karen turned around. She looked the way Lily remembered her from before, warm, soft, happy. Before grief, before Derek, before everything fell apart. Hi, sweetheart, hungry? Mom, what happened? Why did you… Shh, Karen held up a spatula. We don't talk about sad things on Pancake Day. House rules, remember? There are no house rules anymore. There's no house. You threw me out. You chose him over me. Karen's face flickered. For just a moment, something dark passed behind her eyes. I did what I had to do. You let him kick your daughter onto the street. You married the man who killed Dad. How is that what you had to do? You don't understand. Karen's voice changed, harder now, defensive. You're too young to understand. I had no choice. There's always a choice. Is there? Karen set down the spatula. The kitchen around them started to fade, colors bleeding away like watercolors in the rain. Is there always a choice, Lily? Or are there just different kinds of cages? Lily woke with a gasp. The cabin was dark. She didn't know how long she'd been asleep, but the quality of the silence told her it was late. That deep, heavy quiet that only exists in the middle of the night. Then she heard voices, low, urgent, coming from outside. Lily pushed off the blanket and moved toward the window. Stone stood in the gravel driveway, phone pressed to his ear, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. Even from inside, Lily could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his free hand kept clenching and unclenching at his side. Something had happened. She slipped out the front door, wincing as the cold night air hit her skin. Stone saw her and held up one finger. Wait. Yeah, I understand. Keep eyes on them. Don't engage yet. We move when I say we move. He hung up and turned to face her. You're supposed to be resting. What's going on? Stone was quiet for a moment. Then he let out a long breath. Derek Vance just showed up at the police station. He's in Captain Williams' office right now. They've been in there for over an hour. They're planning something. That's what we figure. Ghost intercepted a phone call about 20 minutes ago. They're scared, really scared. Dorothy disappearing has them rattled. Stone paused. They mentioned your name. Lily's blood went cold. What did they say? That you're the problem, that everything goes back to you, and that if they can find you before you talk to anyone official, this whole thing goes away. They want to kill me. Stone didn't deny it. They can't find you here. This place doesn't exist on paper. No connection to the club, no connection to anyone they know. His jaw tightened. But we need to move faster than we planned. If they're this desperate, they might do something stupid, something that forces our hand before we're ready. Then let's force their hand first. Stone looked at her sharply. What do you mean? Lily's mind was racing. All those months on the street, all those hours spent watching and waiting and planning, she'd learned things, learned how desperate people think, learned how fear makes them predictable. They're scared because they don't know what we have, she said slowly. They don't know what Dorothy told us. They don't know about the flash drive, about Ghost's records, about any of it. All they know is that their key witness disappeared and a bunch of bikers are circling. And scared people make mistakes. You said that yourself. Lily met Stone's eyes. What if we gave them a reason to make a really big one? Keep talking. What if they thought they had a chance to fix this? A meeting, a negotiation, me agreeing to stay quiet in exchange for, I don't know, money, protection, something they'd believe I'd want. You want to use yourself as bait? I want to give them enough rope to hang themselves. Lily's voice hardened. They killed my father. They nearly killed Dorothy. They've been killing workers and letting kids die on the streets for years. If there's a chance to get them on tape admitting to any of it, it's too dangerous. Everything's dangerous. Sleeping behind dumpsters is dangerous. Writing notes to strangers is dangerous. Lily stepped closer to Stone. I spent 14 months being careful. I spent 14 months playing it safe, hoping the system would work, hoping someone official would care. And you know what I got? 3 dead friends and a father who'll never see me graduate. Stone's face was unreadable. I'm done being careful, Lily said. I'm done waiting for other people to fix this. If there's a way to end it, really end it, I want to take it. The silence stretched between them. Then Stone pulled out his phone. Ghost. Yeah, it's me. I need you to get a message to Patricia Lawson. Anonymous. Untraceable. Tell her someone wants to make a deal. Someone who has everything Dorothy collected and who's willing to sell it for the right price. He paused, listening. Yeah, I know it's risky. That's why we're going to do it smart. Another pause. Set the meeting for tomorrow night, somewhere public but controllable. And Ghost, make sure every second of this is documented. I want video, audio, everything. If this works, I want enough evidence to bury them all. He hung up. You sure about this? He asked Lily. No, she admitted, but I'm doing it anyway. Stone studied her for a long moment. Your father really did raise one hell of a kid. The message went out at 6 a.m. By 9 a.m., Patricia Lawson had responded. She took the bait, Ghost announced, looking up from his laptop at the cabin's kitchen table. She wants to meet tonight, 8 o'clock, the parking garage on 5th and Main. That's a terrible location for us, Hammer growled. Multiple exits, no clear sightlines, easy for them to set up an ambush. That's why we're not meeting there. Stone leaned over the map spread across the table. Counter offer. Red Pine Truck Stop. Same place this all started. You think she'll agree? I think she doesn't have a choice. She's desperate. She'll agree to anything that gives her a chance to make this go away. Ghost typed rapidly. Sending now. The response came in less than 5 minutes. She's in. 8 o'clock. Red Pine Truck Stop. Ghost looked up. But she has a condition. She wants to see Lily in person before any deal is made. Wants proof that she's actually the one with the evidence. Lily felt her stomach tighten. She wants to make sure she's killing the right person. Probably, Stone's face was grim, but she's not going to get the chance. Here's how this is going to work. He laid out the plan. Lily would meet Patricia at the truck stop, wearing a wire. She'd offer to sell the evidence, all of it, for $500,000. The conversation would be recorded, and the second Patricia admitted to anything incriminating, Hell's Angels would move in to secure the scene. Meanwhile, federal agents would be standing by. Ghost had reached out to an FBI contact, someone who owed him a favor from his hedge fund days, and laid out everything they had. The agent was skeptical but interested, enough to agree to have a team nearby, ready to make arrests if the evidence warranted it. This only works if she talks, Stone said. If she's smart, she'll bring lawyers, keep her mouth shut, and try to handle this through intermediaries. She won't be smart, Lily said quietly. She's been getting away with this for 6 years. She thinks she's untouchable. People like that always underestimate the people they've hurt. You sound pretty sure. I've spent 14 months being underestimated. Lily's jaw tightened. I know how it feels. And I know how people like her think. They see a homeless teenager and assume she's stupid, desperate, easy to manipulate. Her eyes hardened. Let them assume. It's the last mistake they'll ever make. The hours until 8 o'clock felt like years. Lily spent most of them with Dorothy, who had woken up and was slowly regaining her strength. They talked about Thomas, stories Lily had never heard, moments from her father's life that Dorothy had witnessed and treasured. "He talked about you constantly," Dorothy said, her voice still weak but growing stronger. "Every time he came to see me, it was Lily this, Lily that. Her grades, her friends, the way she could argue him into corners about anything." She smiled. "He said you got that from your mother, the stubbornness." "I don't want to talk about my mother." "I understand." Dorothy's hand found Lily's. "But you might have to, before this is over." "What do you mean?" "I mean that Patricia Lawson didn't do this alone. Neither did Derek Vance. There are people in this town who knew what was happening and chose to look away. Some of them out of fear, some out of greed, and some," Dorothy paused, "because they didn't think they had any other choice." Lily pulled her hand back. "My mother chose to marry the man who killed my father. Did she know that's what he was? She must have. She had to have suspected. Did she?" Dorothy's eyes were gentle but probing. "Or did she see a wealthy man offering security after the worst moment of her life? Did she see a way to survive, even if it meant closing her eyes to things she didn't want to see?" "That's not an excuse." "No, it's not." Dorothy nodded slowly. "But it might be an explanation. And sometimes understanding why people do terrible things is the first step to forgiving them." "I don't want to forgive her." "Maybe not yet." Dorothy closed her eyes, exhausted from talking. "But someday, Lily, you're going to have to decide what kind of person you want to be. The kind who holds on to anger forever, or the kind who finds a way to let it go. Your father knew the answer to that question. I hope you figure it out too." At 7 p.m., Stone found Lily in the cabin's small bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror. "Ready?" "No," she turned to face him. "But that's never stopped me before." "Good answer." He handed her a small device, no bigger than a button. "This is the wire. Ghost will be monitoring from a van about 100 yards away. The second things go sideways, you say the word lighthouse, and we move in." "Lighthouse?" "It was Sarah's favorite place. The old lighthouse on Miller's Point. We used to go there when she was little, watch the ships come in." Stone's voice roughened slightly. Seemed fitting. Lily tucked the wire into her jacket. "Stone, thank you. For everything. For believing me when no one else would." "Don't thank me yet." Stone's jaw tightened. "Thank me when this is over and everyone who hurt you is behind bars. Thank me when you're safe. Thank me when you're standing in front of your father's grave and you can tell him that justice was done." "I will." Stone put his hand on her shoulder, briefly, firmly. "Let's go finish this." Red Pine truck stop looked different at night. The parking lot was half empty, the neon signs casting everything in shades of red and blue. Lily climbed out of Stone's truck and walked toward the meeting point, a bench near the entrance, visible from multiple angles but isolated enough for a private conversation. Stone had positioned his men strategically, some in cars scattered through the lot, some inside the truck stop itself, dressed like ordinary customers, some on motorcycles parked at the far end, engines silent but ready. 180 Hell's Angels waiting in the shadows. Lily sat down on the bench and waited. At 8:07 p.m., a silver Mercedes pulled into the lot. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched the car park about 30 feet away. The engine cut off. The door opened. Patricia Lawson stepped out. She looked exactly like her photos. Blonde hair, expensive clothes, the kind of polish that only money could buy. But up close, Lily could see the cracks, the tension around her eyes, the way her hands kept smoothing her jacket like she couldn't quite control them. She was scared. Good. Lily Harper? Patricia's voice was cool, controlled, a practiced tone that probably worked well in boardrooms and fundraising galas. Ms. Lawson, you're younger than I expected. Patricia walked closer, her heels clicking on the asphalt. When my brother told me some homeless girl was causing problems, I pictured someone older, harder. Sorry to disappoint. Oh, I'm not disappointed. Patricia sat down on the other end of the bench, leaving a careful distance between them. I'm impressed. It takes a certain kind of person to survive on the streets for over a year. And it takes an even more certain kind to gather the evidence you've apparently gathered. I learned from the best. Dorothy Henderson? Patricia's lip curled. That meddling old woman has been a thorn in my side for years. Always asking questions, always watching. I should have dealt with her sooner. Lily kept her voice neutral, despite the rage building in her chest. Is that what you call pushing someone down the stairs? Dealing with them? Patricia's eyes flickered, just for a moment. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't, Lily leaned back. Let's skip the part where you pretend to be innocent. You know what I have. I know what you've done. The only question is, what happens next? And what do you want to happen next? I want $500,000, cash, non-sequential bills. In exchange, you get everything. The flash drive, the financial records, Dorothy's documentation, all of it. And I disappear. Leave town, start over somewhere nobody knows my name. You never hear from me again. Patricia studied her for a long moment. That's a lot of money. It's a fraction of what you've stolen. Consider it a bargain. And if I say no, then everything goes to the FBI tomorrow morning. And by tomorrow night, you, your brother, and Captain Williams will be in federal custody facing charges that carry life sentences. Lily's voice hardened. Your choice. Silence. Patricia's jaw tightened. You're very confident for someone who's been sleeping in alleys. I'm very confident for someone who has nothing left to lose. There's a difference. Another long pause. Then Patricia smiled. It was cold, calculated, the smile of someone used to getting exactly what they wanted. I have a counteroffer. I'm listening. $50,000 tonight, and in exchange, you give me everything you have and answer some questions about exactly how much Dorothy told you before her unfortunate accident. That's not even close to what I asked for. It's what I'm offering. Patricia leaned closer. Take it or leave it. But understand, if you leave it, things get very unpleasant for you very quickly. The men my brother works with don't negotiate twice. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. Patricia's eyes were cold. You're 17 years old with no family, no resources, no one who would even notice if you disappeared. I've been running this town for 6 years. Do you really think you can take me down? Lily felt the wire against her chest, recording everything. You've been stealing from homeless kids for 6 years, she said clearly, falsifying occupancy reports to get federal funding, funneling money through shell companies to your brother's construction firm. And when people got too close to the truth, people like Dorothy Henderson, people like my father, you had them silenced. Patricia's face changed. What did you say about your father? Thomas Harper. He worked for your brother's company. He was about to report safety violations to OSHA when he conveniently died in a scaffolding accident. Lily's voice shook, but she didn't look away. Did you give that order yourself, or did Derek handle it personally? I don't know what I have the evidence, Lily cut her off. The email chains, the financial transfers, the security contractor payments that coincide with every single worker death at Vance Brothers sites. Did you really think no one would ever connect the dots? Patricia stood up abruptly. This meeting is over. No, Lily stayed seated. This meeting is just getting started. A motorcycle engine roared to life somewhere in the parking lot. Then another, and another. Patricia spun around as headlights flicked on across the lot, one after another, forming a ring of light around the truck stop. What is this? Her voice pitched higher. What did you do? I told you. Lily rose slowly to her feet. I learned from the best, and the best taught me that people like you only understand one language: power. Hell's angels stepped out of the shadows, one by one, 10, 20, 50. They didn't advance, didn't threaten. They just stood there, forming a wall of leather and steel that blocked every exit. And in front of them all stood Stone. Patricia Lawson, his voice carried across the lot. You're going to want to hear what happens next. Patricia's face went white. You can't do this. This is illegal. I'll have all of you arrested. With what police? Stone walked closer. Captain Williams? The man who's been covering up murders for your brother for the past 6 years? I don't think he's going to be much help tonight. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the FBI agents who just raided his office about 20 minutes ago. Stone stopped 10 feet away. I'm talking about the federal warrant for Derek Vance's arrest that was executed at his home an hour ago. And I'm talking about the fact that every word you've said to this girl tonight has been recorded and transmitted directly to a federal prosecutor who's very, very interested in what you have to say. Patricia's mouth opened, closed, opened again. You set me up. You set yourself up. Stone's voice was ice. 6 years of stealing from kids. 6 years of covering up murders. 6 years of thinking you were untouchable because you had the right connections. Well, your connections are in handcuffs right now, and you're about to join them. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Patricia looked around wildly, at the bikers blocking every exit, at the approaching police lights, at Lily standing calmly in front of her. You're just a kid, she whispered. You're just a homeless kid. How did you? I asked for help. Lily's voice was steady. I wrote notes. I didn't give up. And when I finally found someone who believed me, I told them the truth. The first FBI vehicle pulled into the lot. Sometimes, Lily said quietly, that's all it takes. Patricia Lawson was still standing frozen when the agents put her in handcuffs. The handcuffs clicked shut around Patricia Lawson's wrists with a sound that echoed across the parking lot like a gunshot. Lily watched as federal agents guided the woman toward a waiting SUV. Patricia's expensive heels stumbled on the gravel. Her perfect hair had come loose from its pins. The mask of control she'd worn for 6 years had finally cracked, revealing the terrified, desperate person underneath. This isn't over, Patricia hissed as she passed Lily. My lawyers will have me out by morning. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Lily didn't flinch. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A woman who stole from children and let them die so she could drive a Mercedes and live in a lakefront house. Lily stepped closer. Your lawyers can't help you. Your connections can't save you. And by tomorrow morning, everyone in this country will know your name, not as a respected shelter director, but as a murderer. Patricia's face contorted with rage. Your father should have minded his own business. He'd still be alive if he hadn't. She stopped. Too late. The FBI agent holding her arm went very still. What did you just say about her father? Patricia's mouth opened, closed. The color drained from her face as she realized what she'd done. I want my lawyer. You'll get one. The agent's voice was cold. But that statement you just made, that's going in my report, word for word. He pushed Patricia toward the SUV. She didn't look back. Lily stood in the middle of the parking lot, surrounded by idling motorcycles and flashing federal lights, and felt something she hadn't felt in 14 months. Peace. Stone appeared at her side. You okay? I don't know. She turned to face him. Is it supposed to feel like this? Like nothing's real? Shock. It'll pass. Stone put a hand on her shoulder. You did good tonight, Lily. Really good. Your father would be proud. I hope so. I know so. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of interviews and statements and formal depositions. Lily told her story so many times she started to feel like a recording. The same words, the same details. the same carefully controlled emotions repeated for FBI agents, federal prosecutors, and eventually, journalists who'd caught wind of the biggest corruption case Montana had seen in decades. Derek Vance was arrested at his home the night of Patricia's capture. He tried to run, actually tried to climb out a back window while agents were knocking on his front door, and was found hiding in his own garage, crouched behind a riding lawnmower like a child playing hide-and-seek. Captain Williams was arrested at the police station, in front of his own officers. The look on his face when the FBI walked in with a federal warrant, Lily would remember that for the rest of her life. The arrogance melting into disbelief, then fear, then something like acceptance. He knew it was over. They all did. The evidence Ghost had compiled was devastating. 6 years of financial records showing the systematic theft of federal funds meant for homeless youth. Email chains proving coordination between Patricia, Derek, and Williams to cover up workplace deaths. Security camera footage from Dorothy's neighborhood showing a man, later identified as one of Derek's private contractors, entering her house the night she fell. And most damning of all, a recorded phone conversation between Derek Vance and his sister, made just 2 hours before Patricia's arrest, in which Derek explicitly discussed handling the Harper problem the same way we handled her father. When the prosecutor played that recording for Lily, she had to leave the room. Stone found her in the hallway, leaning against the wall with her eyes closed. "I already knew," she said without opening her eyes. "I already knew they killed him, but hearing them talk about him like he was just a problem to be solved. I know. He was my dad. He was a good man. He was just trying to do the right thing, and they murdered him for it. They're going to pay for that." Stone's voice was hard. "Every single one of them. For your father, for the other workers, for Dorothy, for every kid who died on the streets while Patricia Lawson bought designer handbags. Justice is coming." Lily opened her eyes. "Is it enough? Justice?" Stone was quiet for a moment. "It's not going to bring him back. Nothing will. But it means something. It means his death wasn't pointless. It means the truth came out. And it means you, his daughter, were the one who made it happen." Lily's throat tightened. "I miss him." "I know you do." Stone's hand found her shoulder again, that steady, grounding pressure she'd come to rely on. "And you're going to miss him for the rest of your life. That never goes away. But it gets easier. The sharp edges soften. The memories start to feel like comfort instead of pain. And someday you'll be able to think about him and smile before you cry." "Does it work that way for you? With Sarah?" Stone's face flickered with old grief. "Starting to. After 6 years, it's finally starting to." On the 3rd day after the arrests, Dorothy Henderson was released from the cabin safe house. She was stronger now, still fragile, still moving slowly, but with a clarity in her eyes that hadn't been there when they'd first rescued her from the hospital. "I want to see the shelter," she told Lily. "I want to see what happens to it now. It's closed. Federal investigators seized everything, the building, the records, all of it. They're trying to figure out how much money was stolen and where it went." "Good," Dorothy nodded slowly. "But those children, the ones who actually needed help, where are they going now?" Lily didn't have an answer. That question haunted her through the following week, as the legal machinery ground forward and the media circus intensified. Where did homeless kids go when the only shelter in town turned out to be a front for fraud? Where did they sleep? What did they eat? Who was watching out for them while everyone else focused on prosecuting the criminals? She brought it up to Stone during one of their evening conversations at the clubhouse. "We've been thinking about that too," Stone admitted. "The brothers have been talking. We want to do something permanent, something that keeps this from happening again." "Like what?" "A program, community watchdogs, people trained to recognize the signs of financial exploitation, child endangerment, elder abuse, people who actually look at the paperwork instead of just rubber stamping whatever the system puts in front of them. That's a big undertaking. It is. Stone met her eyes. That's why we want you involved. Lily blinked. Me? You're the one who figured this out. You're the one who collected the evidence, made the connections, refused to give up when everyone else ignored you. You understand how these systems fail because you lived through it. Stone leaned forward. We can provide the manpower, the resources, the network, but we need someone who knows what to look for, someone who can teach others to see what they've been trained to ignore. I'm 17 years old. You're also the most effective investigator I've ever met. Stone smiled slightly. Age doesn't mean much when you've got instincts like yours. Lily thought about it, about all those months on the street, invisible and afraid, about the notes she'd written, hundreds of them, begging for someone to pay attention, about Jamie and Marcus Jr. and Rosie, and all the other kids who hadn't made it. Okay, she said, I'm in. The program would eventually be called Harper's Hope, named for the man who'd started it all by refusing to stay silent about safety violations at his job. But that was months away. First, there was the matter of justice to be settled. The trial began in federal court 8 weeks after the arrests. Lily sat in the front row every single day. She watched as prosecutors laid out the case in meticulous detail. The stolen funds, the falsified records, the pattern of deaths. She watched as defense attorneys tried to spin, deflect, minimize. She watched as witnesses took the stand one after another. Ghost with his financial analysis, Dorothy with her first-hand account, families of the dead workers with their grief and their rage. And she watched as one by one the defendants crumbled. Captain Williams was the first to break. Faced with the recorded phone calls, the email trails, and the testimony of 3 other officers who'd been pressured to look the other way, he accepted a plea deal on the 4th day of trial. 12 years in federal prison, full cooperation with prosecutors, complete disclosure of everything he knew about Derek Vance's operations. His testimony was devastating. He named names, dates, amounts. He described in clinical detail how he'd buried investigations, lost evidence, intimidated witnesses. He admitted to being present at Thomas Harper's job site the morning of his death, not to investigate, but to make sure the scene was cleaned up before anyone asked too many questions. When he finished, Lily was shaking so hard Martha had to help her out of the courtroom. I thought I was ready, Lily whispered in the hallway. I thought I could handle hearing it, but he was there. He watched my father die and did nothing. He helped cover it up. Breathe. Martha's arms wrapped around her. Just breathe, sweetheart. It's almost over. Is it? Yes, and when it is, that man is going to spend the next 12 years in a cell, thinking about what he did. That's not nothing, Lily. That's justice. Derek Vance's turn came next. Unlike Williams, he didn't break. He sat through the trial with a smirk on his face, like the whole thing was beneath him, a minor inconvenience that his lawyers would eventually make disappear. The smirk vanished when the jury came back. Guilty on all counts: conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, embezzlement, obstruction of justice, money laundering. The list went on for almost 10 minutes. When the judge asked if he had anything to say before sentencing, Derek finally looked at Lily. You ruined my life, he said. You and your self-righteous father. He couldn't just do his job and keep his mouth shut. He had to be a hero. And now look what happened. My sister's in prison. My business is destroyed. My reputation is gone. All because of one man who couldn't mind his own business. Lily stood up. The courtroom went silent. My father, she said clearly, was worth 100 of you. He believed that doing the right thing mattered, even when it was hard, even when it was dangerous, even when people like you tried to stop him. Her voice shook but didn't break. You didn't ruin his life, Mr. Vance. He ruined yours. And I'm going to spend the rest of mine making sure people remember him as a hero while they forget you ever existed. Derek's face contorted with rage. The judge banged his gavel. Enough. Mr. Vance, you will have plenty of time to reflect on your choices. This court sentences you to 23 years in federal prison. 1 year for each worker who died because of your negligence and greed. May God have mercy on your soul, because this court has none. 23 years. Lily sat back down, her legs suddenly unable to support her. It was over. Patricia Lawson's sentencing came last. Unlike her brother, she showed no defiance, no anger. She sat through the proceedings with the blank stare of someone who'd already given up, who knew that no amount of expensive lawyers or political connections could save her now. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Years of financial records, testimony from former shelter employees, statements from families who'd lost children after being turned away from Mercy House. And most damning of all, Dorothy Henderson's detailed account of every conversation, every suspicious transaction, every sign of corruption that she documented over 8 years of volunteering. "Do you have anything to say before sentencing?" the judge asked. Patricia stood slowly. She looked at Lily. For a long moment, something passed between them. Not understanding, not forgiveness, but something like acknowledgement. "I never meant for anyone to die," Patricia said quietly. "The money, it started small, a little here, a little there. No one was getting hurt, or so I told myself." She paused. "But then it grew, and by the time I realized how far I'd gone, it was too late to stop. Too many people were involved. Too much was at stake." "That's not an excuse," the judge said. "No, it's not," Patricia's voice cracked. "But it's the truth. I'm not a monster. I'm a woman who made terrible choices and convinced herself they were necessary. And now I have to live with the consequences of those choices for the rest of my life." "You certainly do." The judge's voice was ice. "Patricia Lawson, this court sentences you to 19 years in federal prison. 19 years, one for each child who died on the streets of this community, while you lived in luxury on money that was supposed to save them. Your sentence will be served consecutively with any additional charges that may arise from ongoing investigations." Patricia didn't react. She just nodded once, like she'd expected nothing less. As the guards led her away, she paused at the courtroom door. "Lily Harper," Lily looked up. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry about your father. He was a good man, and you're right, he deserved better." Then she was gone. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Lily sat frozen, trying to process what had just happened. Stone leaned close. "You okay?" "I don't know," Lily shook her head slowly. "I wanted to hate her. I did hate her, but what she said, doesn't change what she did." "No, but it makes her human." Lily looked at Stone. "Is that worse? That she's human? That she's not just some evil monster, but a person who made choices that destroyed lives?" "It's not worse or better. It just is." Stone's voice was gentle. "People aren't simple, Lily. Even the worst of them have reasons for what they do. Understanding those reasons doesn't mean forgiving them. It just means seeing them clearly." "I think I need some air." "Take all the time you need." Lily walked out of the courthouse into the cold Montana afternoon. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Microphones were thrust toward her face, but she barely noticed any of it. She just kept walking, past the news vans, past the crowds, past the noise, until she found herself standing alone in a small park across the street. She sat down on a bench and closed her eyes. It was over. Really, truly over. Patricia was going to prison. Derek was going to prison. Williams was already cooperating with prosecutors. The shelter had been shut down, its remaining assets frozen pending distribution to victims. Dorothy was recovering. The Hells Angels were already planning their community watchdog program. Everything Lily had fought for, everything she'd sacrificed, had worked. So why didn't she feel victorious? Footsteps approached. Lily opened her eyes. Her mother stood 10 feet away. Karen Harper looked different than Lily remembered. Older, tired. The perfect makeup she'd always worn was absent, and her eyes were red-rimmed and swollen. "Lily, what are you doing here?" "I watched the trial, all of it. I sat in the back where you couldn't see me." Karen's voice wavered. "I heard everything. About your father. About what Derek did. About all of it." Lily's jaw tightened. And I'm sorry." Karen's face crumpled. "I'm so sorry, Lily. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know what he was, what he'd done. I thought your father's death was an accident. You thought it was convenient." The words came out flat, emotionless. "You thought you'd lost your husband, and suddenly there was this wealthy man offering you a new life, and you didn't ask questions because you didn't want to know the answers." Karen flinched like she'd been slapped. "Yes," she whispered. "You're right. I didn't want to know. I was scared and grieving, and I took the easy path instead of the right one." Tears streamed down her face. "And then when Derek told me you were troubled, that you were making up stories, that you needed tough love, I believed him, because believing him was easier than admitting I'd married a monster. You threw me out. You put my clothes in garbage bags and changed the locks, and wouldn't even look at me through the window." "I know. I slept behind dumpsters, Mom. I went days without eating. I watched my friends die, and you were 3 miles away, living in comfort, pretending I didn't exist." "I know." Karen's voice broke completely. "And I'll never forgive myself for that. Never. I was weak and afraid, and I made the worst choice a mother could make. But Lily, I'm still your mother, and if there's any chance at all, that someday you might let me try to make this right, I don't know if you can make this right. I know you don't, but I'm going to try anyway." Karen reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "I testified against Derek. Everything I knew, everything I suspected, all of it. The prosecutors say it helped. And I'm giving you access to everything. The settlement money, the life insurance, all of it. It was always supposed to be yours. Your father would have wanted you to have it." Lily looked at the envelope, but didn't take it. "Money doesn't fix this." "No, it doesn't, but it's a start." Karen set the envelope on the bench beside Lily. "There's something else, a letter from your father." Lily's heart stopped. "What?" "He wrote it the week before he died. Gave it to a lawyer with instructions to deliver it to you on your 18th birthday. But after everything that happened," Karen's voice caught, "I think you should have it now." Lily's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a smaller envelope, yellowed with age, her name written across the front in her father's familiar handwriting. "Dear Lilybug, if you're reading this, something went wrong. I hoped I'd be there to give you this letter in person, to see your face when you turned 18, to tell you how proud I am of the woman you've become. But if that's not how things worked out, then I need you to know some things. First, I love you. More than I ever knew it was possible to love another person. From the moment you were born, you were my whole world. Everything I did, every job I worked, every sacrifice I made was for you. I wanted to give you a good life, a safe life, a life where you could become whoever you wanted to be. Second, I might be in some trouble. There are people at my job doing bad things, and I can't look the other way anymore. I've been documenting everything, and I'm going to report it. But these are dangerous people, Lily. People who've hurt others to protect their secrets. I hope I'm being paranoid. I hope this letter never matters. But if it does, if something happens to me, I need you to remember who you are. You're strong, Lily, stronger than you know. You have a good heart and a stubborn streak and a sense of justice that won't let you stay quiet when something's wrong. Those qualities come from you, not from me. I just help them grow. Don't let anyone tell you who to be. Don't let anyone convince you that the world is too broken to fix. And don't ever, ever give up on finding people who will believe in you. They're out there. Sometimes they look scary. Sometimes they're not who you expect, but they're out there. I'm so proud of you, Lilybug. I always have been. And wherever I am, I always will be. All my love, forever and always, Dad. Lily read the letter 3 times. Then she folded it carefully, pressed it against her chest, and cried. She cried for her father, who'd known the risks and done the right thing anyway. She cried for herself, for the girl who'd spent 14 months fighting alone. She cried for Dorothy and Jamie and Marcus Jr. and Rosie and all the others who'd suffered because of greed and corruption. And when she finally stopped crying, she looked up to find her mother still standing there, tears streaming down her own face. Mom. Yes, Lily took a long, shaky breath. I can't forgive you yet. I don't know if I ever can. But, she paused, choosing her words carefully, I'm willing to try, slowly, carefully, with a lot of time and a lot of honesty. Karen's face crumpled with relief. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. Lily stood up, tucking the letter into her jacket pocket. But Dad would have wanted me to try. He believed in second chances. He believed people could change. She met her mother's eyes. Don't make me regret this. I won't. Karen's voice was fierce. I swear to you, Lily, I won't. Lily nodded once. Then she turned and walked back toward the courthouse, where Stone and Martha and the others were waiting. Behind her, she heard her mother whisper, Thank you. She didn't respond, but she didn't have to. Some things didn't need words. 8 months later, Lily Harper stood in front of a crowd of 200 people. The community center was packed. Local officials, journalists, families who'd lost loved ones, and at the back, standing in a row like silent guardians, 180 Hell's Angels in their leather vests. Harper's Hope, Lily said into the microphone, isn't just a program, it's a promise that what happened to my father, what happened to Jamie Reeves and Marcus Williams Jr., and Rosie Patterson and all the others, will never happen again in this community. She paused, gathering herself. For too long, the systems that were supposed to protect the vulnerable failed them instead. Social services looked the other way. Police departments protected the powerful. Shelters that were supposed to save lives became fronts for fraud while children died on the streets. Her voice strengthened. That ends now. Harper's Hope will train community members to recognize the signs of exploitation, financial abuse, child endangerment, elder neglect. We'll teach people to ask the questions that nobody wants to ask, to look at the paperwork, to listen to the victims even when they're young or poor or homeless or anyone else the system has taught us to ignore. She looked out at the crowd. My father wrote me a letter before he died. In it, he told me not to give up on finding people who would believe in me. He said they were out there, sometimes scary, sometimes not who you expect, but out there. Lily smiled through tears. He was right. I found them. And now, through this program, we're going to make sure everyone else can find them too. The applause was thunderous. Lily stepped back from the microphone, and Stone moved forward to take her place, outlining the practical details of the program, the training sessions, the hotline, the network of volunteers that would span 4 states. But Lily barely heard him. She was looking at the photograph mounted on an easel beside the podium. Thomas Harper smiling at the camera, his arm around a 12-year-old Lily at the state fair. We did it, Dad, she whispered. We did it. After the ceremony, Dorothy Henderson found Lily near the refreshment table. Your father would be proud, Dorothy said. So proud. I hope so. I know so. Dorothy pressed something into Lily's hand. I was saving this for you. It was in the documents Thomas gave me, the ones that were stolen, but I had a copy hidden somewhere else. I thought you should have it. Lily looked down. It was a photograph she'd never seen before. Her father, maybe 30 years old, standing in front of a Marine Corps helicopter. He was smiling, that big, genuine smile that Lily remembered from her childhood. And on the back, in his familiar handwriting, "First day in country, scared to death but trying not to show it. Whatever happens, remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing even when you're terrified." Lily's eyes blurred with tears. "Thank you, Dorothy, for everything." "Thank you, child." Dorothy squeezed her hand. "You saved my life. You brought justice to people who never thought they'd see it. And you made sure Thomas Harper's death meant something. That's more than I could have asked for." The sun was setting by the time the crowd dispersed. Lily walked out to the parking lot where Stone was waiting beside his motorcycle. "Good speech," he said. "Good program. Couldn't have done it without you." Lily looked at him, this scarred, tattooed man who'd changed her life with a single question in a parking lot almost a year ago. "Stone, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you think your daughter would be proud of what we built here?" Stone was quiet for a long moment. "Yeah," he finally said. "I think she would. Sarah never got the help she needed because people gave up on her too easily, looked at her and saw a lost cause instead of a kid who was struggling." His voice roughened. "What we're building here, it's going to save kids like her, kids who might have fallen through the cracks otherwise. So yeah, I think she'd be proud." "I'm glad." Stone pulled something from his jacket pocket, a motorcycle helmet, black, scratched, with a Hell's Angels patch on the side. "This was Sarah's," he said. "I've been holding on to it for 6 years, trying to figure out what to do with it. And then I realized it shouldn't be sitting in my closet gathering dust. It should be with someone who knows what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself." He held it out to Lily. "It's yours, if you want it." Lily took the helmet carefully. It was heavier than she expected, worn smooth from years of use. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything." Stone climbed onto his motorcycle. "Just promise me you'll keep fighting, keep asking questions, keep believing that one person can make a difference. Because you proved it can be done. You proved it better than anyone I've ever met." Lily put on the helmet. It fit perfectly. "I promise." Stone smiled, that rare, warm smile that transformed his scarred face into something almost gentle. "Then let's ride." He kicked the engine to life. Lily climbed on behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist the same way she had almost a year ago, fleeing a hospital parking lot with a dying woman in the back seat. But this time, they weren't running from anything. They were riding toward everything. The highway stretched out ahead of them, endless and open. Behind them, the sun was setting over Riverside, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere in that town, families were having dinner. Children were doing homework. Homeless kids were finding their way to a new shelter that actually helped them. And somewhere, Lily knew, her father was watching. "We did it, Dad," she whispered into the wind. "We finally did it." The motorcycle roared forward, carrying her toward a future she'd never dared to imagine. A future with purpose, with family, with hope. Lily Harper had written 223 notes before someone finally listened. She would spend the rest of her life making sure no one else ever had to write that many, because sometimes the scariest looking person in the room is the only one brave enough to help. And sometimes one note placed on the right helmet at the right time for the right person is all it takes to change the world.